magic makers, and welcome back to the Metaphysical Apothecary. We are your hosts, Shannon and Megan.
Hi, everyone.
Also known as the Scorpio Sisters, here to explore the mysterious, the magical, and the arcane.
As always, we are super excited to have you here today, and we are particularly excited to talk about today's topic, which will be broken up into a several-part series because there's so much in it that we want to explore. It's the subject of pop pantheons. This has been something that has been gaining ground in the pagan community. Several of my favorite YouTube witches have spoken on it already. Molly Roberts is the first person that I heard speak about this, and the idea is intriguing for many different reasons. So if you've never heard of a pop pantheon before, basically the idea is that you look at the figures from popular culture that you consume and channel those energies into workings, into your magic. This idea, it does a couple of different things. One, if you are an atheist witch, you can work with multiple different kinds of archetypes and energies without dedicating yourself to a deity or feeling weird about not being a theist. The other big thing that it helps us do is avoid cultural appropriation. So sometimes there's an energy that we want to work with that we know that we can't, in good faith, divorce from its culture and simply just use that energy. Ganesh is a good example. Some people would feel comfortable using his energy or calling on him to help remove obstacles from their life. But there are others, myself included, that don't feel that they're educated enough or deeply steeped enough in the Hindu belief system to call upon that energy respectfully. The wonderful thing is that you can choose another obstacle breaker from your favorite book, television show, etc., to help you push through that problem.
Pop pantheons is really where you would start diving into the potential archetypes and energies to work with. So if you have a fandom, finding a archetype there to work with, you're golden. You know that fandom inside and out, so you can create your own pantheon.
Yes. You can create your own suite of energies that you can call upon to bring whatever you need to a working. For instance, if you do need to break obstacles, the Doctor from Doctor Who would be an amazing energy to call on. Someone who can traverse all of time and space with impunity, has multiple different faces. The Doctor has 13 different energies for you to choose from. So you can call on any of those energies for the problem that you're having to help you break through. The word archetypes is something that we throw around a lot. What that is basically figures or symbols that embody a particular energy. For instance, the tarot is an excellent example of archetypes that we work with all the time. No matter what tarot deck you have, the Lovers is going to have a similar meaning in every single deck. The symbolism may change, the general feeling of it may change, but the basic meaning is not going to change. It's the same with the runic system or even with groups of deities. Underworld deities are a good example of this. In most cases, especially with goddesses of the underworlds rather than gods, they're pretty scary, but only to people who don't follow them. Hecate is a great example of this. She'll lead you down your path. She'll hold the torch for you and she'll lead you to where you need to go. Hell has a similar way of acting toward people without an invitation, without permission. Then they become pretty scary. The Morrigan is the same way.
Without respect. If you're pushing into their territory, into their energy field without respect.
Yep. So these three goddesses all have deep similarities with each other. There are differences as well, but they're archetypes because there are specific things that they share.
Sovereign deities do the same thing. If you are linked to these particular energies, you have the divine right of rulership over your tribe, your country, over whatever boundary you set or has been set for your group of people. Morian is one of them. The Bridget is another. You have have Zeus. You definitely have the Judeo-Christian God linked to being sovereign energies and passing on the divine right to rule to kings. Once you break them down, they're vastly different energies, but their archetype of the sovereign energy does the same thing. Another set of archetypes that we work with on a relatively regular basis in general is the 12 archetypes zodiac.
Oh, yeah.
So when someone is asking what sign your sun happens to be in, they're looking to understand an archetype energy you may put off. So as Scorpios, and we reference this often, we know that our archetypal energy is usually linked to things that are dark and misunderstood in some way, shape, or form.
Yes.
The taboos and the underworld and death and dying and black cats and Halloween. It's an archetypal genre of things for Scorpio.
Yes. Anything that is creepy or frightening, a Scorpio is likely going to gravitate toward, because interestingly enough, one of the hallmarks of the Scorpios are deep wells of compassion and empathy. We're not seen that way because we guard our energy very closely. But we have a lot of compassion and empathy, and that's why we gravitate toward the darker, creepier side of things a lot of time.
Yeah, we also are not seen that way because we don't, as you said, we're guarding our energy, we're guarding our person, our being, from senseless things like small talk. It's very, very rare for you to find a Scorpio archetypal individual who enjoys small talk. Those deep wells of compassion also have deep wells of intimate level of understanding. I want a real conversation so I can know you, who you are, how you think.
Yep.
And small talk is a little too shallow for a Scorpio archetype individual to be able to get that type of information, and thus usually seen as pointless. Scorpio archetypal individuals and archetypal energy is something that anyone can work with, whether or not you happen to have Scorpio in one of your big three placements, whether it's the sun, moon, or rising. It's an archetypal energy that has been around for millennia. You can work with any of the 12 archetypes of the zodiac, whether or not you happen to have your big three there. So you can be an Aries and take charge, even if you don't have Aries as a sun, moon, or rising sign. Or you could tap into Virgo archetypal energy and clean house and be meticulous about your details. And you don't need to have that archetypal energy in a prominent place in your own particular chart.
No. In fact, this technique can be especially useful if you don't have that particular energy in a prominent place in your chart and you feel like you need to channel that.
Yes.
So you can tap into it.
As a person who studies astrology, everyone has all 12 of those signs in their chart. It's just whether or not it's easier to tap into or not.
Right.
On any particular day, it's a great way to tap into archetypal energy, even if you don't have a fandom that you're particularly well versed in.
Exactly. So you can use the pagan fandom. One of the wonderful things about working with archetypes from our pop pantheons is that we can take these general characters with this set of particular characteristics, and we can choose someone for an energy to work with that we're intimately comfortable with. You don't have to choose someone you know nothing about. A lot of people in the pagan community love doing their research. Shannon and I are that way. But if you're just starting out or you're teaching little witchlings, that's another way that pop pantheons can be used to familiarize people with how magic works, how spellcraft works, how working with deity can work.
Pop pantheon archetype energies that is relatively popular. Harry Potter and the Wizarding World.
Yep, a fandom that is fairly controversial at this point, and that's Harry Potter and the Wizarding World. We will be talking about Harry Potter and our love of Harry Potter. We want to put a caveat in here that we support and stand with everyone from the LGBTQ plus community, from communities of color who have found a home in Harry Potter and continue to enjoy Harry Potter. We do not share the opinions or the viewpoints of the author. So we will be talking about this from the viewpoint of people who have found a home here, people who have found beauty in it.
Mm-hmm. And to work with it.
Yes.
One of the ways to break this down is you have plenty of archetypes within the characters, but you can also break down the Hogwarts houses into different archetypes themselves.
Yes.
And that's how I happen to work with this particular fandom. I break it down into the 4 houses. When I'm part of a hiring team, one of the first questions I will ask is whether or not they are in a Hogwarts house and what house they're in. The answer usually allows me to know where they generally place themselves. Are you a person who is very outgoing, like a Gryffindor? Do you classify yourself as a Ravenclaw archetype, person who's going to need to have a little bit more of a routine and a schedule and rules so that way you can thrive in the environment?
Exactly. Caveat about Ravenclaws. We want to know what the rules are, why they're there, so we can choose which ones we want to ignore.
Yeah, I give them as few rules as possible, and they come out with more rules for the next.
We create our own guidelines.
Yeah. Slytherin archetype energy is about power. And depending on the Slytherin, because when you're dealing with a Slytherin like myself, who's also a librarian, knowledge is power. So I go in and go, here's a very small base of rules that need to be followed, and these are the reasons. Slytherin archetype energy I also find to be chaotic. And then there's the Hufflepuff, which is my favorite archetype. Hufflepuff archetype energy. They are very warm and hard individuals.
My sister and my wife are both Hufflepuffs, and both of them will do whatever is asked of them to the best of their ability. They'll give their best all the time. However, the dark side of the Hufflepuff is still very Hufflepuff typical in that if you come in and try to disrupt their harmonious home or try to do harm to someone who is part of their circle, that's going to be a problem.
This is just a basic understanding of 4 particular houses, 4 archetypes that allow me to know loosely how you work, why you work that way, and how best can I support you.
What energy do they give off, and how can we best align the environment to work with that energy? Moving on to another fandom that is split very neatly into 4 elements, Avatar: The Last Airbender and Legends of Korra are one of my favorite universes. The Avatar universe is one of my favorite universes to play in energetically. So for anyone who's not familiar with Avatar: The Last Airbender and Legends of Korra, it's a fantasy world in which there are 4 kinds of benders, and they bend the 4 elements: air, earth, water, and fire. It's a very fun world, lots and lots of spiritual exploration that is easily accessible for both children and adults. So anyone who's looking to create a spiritual life, who doesn't have one or who struggles with that, go ahead and watch these shows. They might help. The thing that Last Airbender and Korra did for me was the archetype of the elements themselves. So when you watch people bend in these shows, each bending technique for each different element is based on a different kind of martial art. So this was when I was in my late teens and early 20s that I would first watch this show, when I was first coming into my pagan-tastic self and learning how to work with energy. So watching how these people moved, watching how they gathered up their element and directed it, and the different ways that they moved based on how they were using it, helped me understand how energy flows in different systems in our world. how to bring energies together. One of the best examples of this is the episode where the earthbender Toph is trying to teach the main character, Aang, the avatar, how to earthbend. And he is an airbender, but he's trying to learn all of the other techniques as well. And she keeps telling him, this is the opposite of air. This is different. You have to stand your ground with earth. You have to show it who's boss. You have to reframe your thinking, and you have to dig your toes in and earthbend. This is one of those moments where I was like, okay, so when I'm working with certain problems, with certain energies, when I'm doing a particular working, I might have to change the energy that is flowing through my body, flowing through the working. What do I need right now?
And you would have to change your mindset in order to get that.
Yes.
So another fandom that I particularly enjoy that can break down into different elements is The Legend of Zelda, which has multiple games that you could use in order to understand yourself or the archetypal energy for a pantheon, for a working, for your own shadow work. I happen to like using the Windwalker game, but Twilight Princess is also something I tap into because that also has shadow work and shadow world work. So you can find different archetypes in different games that may be carried forward, like Link is always carried forward because he's the hero on the journey, and that's an archetype. Or you could use the archetypal energy that's pulled forward with Zelda. She's an archetypal energy as well. You could use the villain archetype that's pulled forward in most of the Legend of Zelda games, or the breakdown of spirits that Legend of Zelda games tend to have, whether it's for the element of water, fire, air, or earth archetypal energies. So it's a very diverse and very deep fandom that you can traverse into if you're looking for archetypal energies and you're a gamer.
Right. Video games are an incredible treasure trove of archetypes that you can dig into. Mortal Kombat is a little bit of an older one. It's been enhanced and added to. There's a lot there that you can play with.
That's all we have on the topic for today. Thank you so much for listening in, and we hope you'll join us again. In the meantime, you can follow us on our blog for some more witchy wisdom, as well as check out some of our original art on Society 6 for sacred decor and more. Thank you again for joining us, and go make some magic and live your best life. Bye.
Bye, everyone.